Deep within the Earth, something big is happening. But how can we know? It's not like we can just drill a hole to see what's going on in the middle of the planet. Instead, we have to listen. The Earth is constantly rumbling with seismic waves generated by everything from passing cars to distant earthquakes to massive ancient landslides that scientists are only just discovering. By carefully listening to these rumblings, seismologists are learning more about our home planet than they ever have before. Now, an international team of researchers has developed a new technique that will allow us to hear even more secrets hidden beneath our feet. There are all kinds of ways to generate seismic waves. When you drop a bowling ball, the impact releases a burst of energy that travels through the ground as a seismic wave. That's pretty easy to understand. And seismologists have been studying these so-called body waves for a long time. They can tell us things like how deep a particular material layer is or how stiff it is, and that helps us understand the structure of the Earth. But there's another kind of seismic wave that's much more complicated: surface waves. As the name suggests, they occur on the surface of the planet, but actually they're a bit more complex than just that. For instance, they can be generated when two different kinds of seismic waves meet up at a boundary between two different materials. Or they can come from one material suddenly slipping past another, like during an earthquake. Surface waves tend to be slower than body waves, but they carry more energy. So while they don't teach us as much about the interior layers of the planet, they do carry lots of information about the outer part of the Earth that's within reach with current drilling technology. By recording surface waves, we can learn about the thickness of the crust or how stiff different rock types are, or even detect little bumps and dips in the crust, which could indicate, say, deposits of valuable minerals. This is already a big deal, but the problem is recording these waves is easier said than done. You can't just stick a microphone in the ground and hope to get a good signal, because the waves interact with the near-surface geology in complex ways that vary depending on the location. This makes the data messy and difficult to interpret, which is why surface waves haven't been recorded at nearly as many sites as body waves. But if we want to better understand our planet, then we need to figure out how to get better recordings of these elusive waves. And a recent paper published in July of 2023 in the journal Frontiers in Earth Science presents just such a solution. The key innovation here is a clever way to filter out unwanted noise. The research team wanted to see if they could improve upon existing methods by creating a denser network of seismic detectors, which could potentially provide better coverage of the Earth's surface. To test their approach, they deployed a whopping 648 sensors across a region of central England, covering roughly 5,000 square kilometers. That might sound like a lot, but keep in mind this is roughly the size of Los Angeles, and each sensor is capable of detecting extremely subtle vibrations thanks to the ultra-sensitive equipment inside. To put it another way, they can pick up signals equivalent to the motion of a 100-kilogram mass moving less than a nanometer, which is about 1/10,000th the width of a human hair. Once the experiment was set up, the team let the sensors record the Earth's rumblings for 3 months. During that time, they identified 216 distinct seismic events that produced surface waves, including some that were too weak to be detected by previous methods. These included distant earthquakes, but also local events like underground explosions and even traffic-related vibrations. And after carefully analyzing all of this data, the researchers found that they could use the time delay between when a seismic event was recorded at different locations to work out the exact path that the wave took through the Earth. In other words, by comparing the data from multiple sensors, they were able to filter out all of the noise and extract the pure signal of the surface wave. What's more, they found that their dense sensor network allowed them to track waves traveling in multiple directions. Now, to make sure that their method worked, the team compared the results with data from a single sensor at one site that had already been extensively studied, and the results matched up perfectly. So, now that they know that this works, the researchers think it could be used at other sites to gather more data about the Earth's surface. And it could even help us find resources like geothermal energy more easily. It's not quite ready for prime time yet. There's still a lot of work to do. The experimental setup that the team used in England needs to be adapted for use in other places. After all, the subsurface geology of England isn't exactly the same as, say, Wyoming or Western Australia, so more tests will be needed. But, if all goes well, this could be the start of a quiet revolution in Earth science. Of course, humans aren't the only ones who can listen to the rumblings of the Earth. A new study published in August of 2023 in the journal Geophysical Research Letters found that local earthquakes in California can trigger seismic rumblings in the bellies of otherwise quiet California condors. Okay, so maybe the Earth doesn't literally talk to condors, but the birds are sensitive enough to the rumblings that scientists can use seismic records to predict when they might be startled into flight, which could help researchers track them down. That's because condors are endangered. There are fewer than 500 left in the world, so we really want to know where they are. But while some of the birds live in zoos, others are reintroduced into the wild where they can be monitored via GPS. And while that's working well for tracking individuals, it's hard to know what population they came from. If the condor was born in captivity, it's easy to tell which breeding pair produced it, but if it was born in the wild, it's harder to tell where it came from without catching it and fitting it with a GPS tag. And of course, condors are large birds of prey with a wingspan of up to 3 meters. So trying to catch one would be quite a challenge. So instead, researchers have started looking for clues in the landscape. Like white-throated swifts, California condors are known to roost in steep cliffs, but condors require larger roosting caves than swifts do. So researchers wondered if they could use seismic surveys to map out suitable condor habitat by identifying caves larger than those used by swifts. After all, a condor roost cave should produce a unique seismic signature due to its shape and size. But mapping out the right size cave is tricky, because the size of the cave entrance controls the frequency of the seismic waves that can fit inside. Lower frequencies can travel deeper into the Earth, making them great for finding large caves. But low frequencies can't tell us much about the smaller features of the landscape. Higher frequencies are better for mapping small features, but they don't penetrate very far into the ground. So the researchers needed to develop a technique that could combine the best of both worlds. They tested their method on El Capitan, in California's Yosemite National Park. This sheer granite cliff face is home to hundreds of swift nesting sites but no known condor roosts. The researchers wanted to know if they could reliably distinguish the swiftlets' smaller nests from the larger spaces condors prefer. Using a combination of high and low frequency seismic waves, they created a detailed map of the rock face, revealing 6 potential condor roosts, along with 300 swift nests. Then they brought in an expert to visually inspect the sites. And guess what? The expert agreed that the seismic data accurately identified the condors' preferred roosts. The technique was so successful that the researchers think it could be used to identify condor habitat over large areas quickly and remotely. And that means we might finally have a way to protect these majestic birds without having to get up close and personal. Seismic waves are helping us explore more than just the Earth. To learn how scientists are using seismometers on Mars to take the pulse of an alien planet, check out this video. And for more about a powerful new telescope that's listening for the faintest whispers of light, check out this video.